Greetings, dear adventurers. Welcome to my first storytelling video of evening tales and shared journeys in the Diablo universe. Before we begin, allow yourself to find a comfortable position. Let your pillow hold your head. Like soft earth supporting a resting traveler, imagine the world going quiet around you, as though someone is lowering the lanterns of the day, one by one. Tonight, I will guide you through the long and winding history of Tristram, a settlement as old as Sanctuary's greatest tragedies and as enduring as its deepest legends. Tristram is more than a town. It is a place suspended between legend and ruin, memory and nightmare, the world of Sanctuary and the shadows of hell. To speak of Tristram is to tell a story that begins in quiet frontier lands, weaves through the rise and fall of kings, and echoes across centuries in the hearts of heroes and in the whispers of demons. Tonight, we journey there gently, as observers and listeners, not as warriors. Imagine now that twilight has deepened into evening, and you stand at the edge of Tristram's old road, just beyond the trees. The air is soft, warm with distant lantern glow, and you hear the faint murmur of wind through broken rooftops. Below that whisper, there is a history, a layered, tragic, beautiful history. We begin where it all began. Tristram's earliest days were humble. In the forgotten centuries before the armies of hell reached Sanctuary, Tristram was little more than a small, rural settlement in the kingdom of Condurus. Farmers tended fields, hunters tracked deer, and travelers passed through on rugged roads. Life was simple, largely free of great conflict, but for those days too, fate was already settling its shadow over the land. In time, a secret order known as the Horadrim made their way to the region. The Horadrim were a league of powerful mages and warriors, dedicated to confronting the prime evils Diablo, Mephisto, Baal. Their campaign was long and arduous. At great cost, they managed to imprison Diablo's essence in a soul stone, a crystal of terrible purpose. But that soul stone needed to be hidden. They chose the quiet hills beneath where Tristram later stood, and they began to build. They built a grand cathedral, or so the records say, a fortress of stone and faith. Beneath it, within deep, winding chambers, they buried the soul stone in a labyrinth of sealed doors, warded vaults, and carved runes. This crypt would become a secret tomb of unimaginable power, hidden, dormant, waiting. In the hours before Tristram rose, the Horadrim believed they had contained a terror, locking it away deep under holy ground. Centuries passed. The settlement grew. In time, King Leoric of Condurus made his seat in Tristram, transforming the modest village into a political and spiritual center. Under his reign, the cathedral gained prominence, and with it came Archbishop Lazarus, a trusted advisor. Leoric was devout, guided by the Zakarum faith, a religion that revered light, repentance, and vigilance. The cathedral that housed the Horadrim's secret became a sacred center, yet beneath the surface, an ancient menace stirred. Unbeknown to most, Lazarus fell under the influence of the imprisoned Diablo. The soul stone awakened, whispering corruption into the archbishop's mind. Over time, Lazarus helped release the demon's power, and tragedy followed. Diablo attempted to possess King Leoric. The attempt failed, but Leoric's mind fractured. He became paranoid. He executed nobles and soldiers alike, declaring war on shadows and imagining traitors in every robed figure. The once wise king slowly descended into madness. In that darkness, a younger prince, Albrecht, remained in Tristram. Diablo seized upon him. Within the depths of the labyrinth below the cathedral, the demon manipulated Albrecht's soul, twisting it to his own will. There, Diablo created his servants, Tortured souls became grotesque monsters. Goat-like beastmen crept through caverns. Undead knights clanked on marble floors. Among them was the Butcher, a demon born of suffering and cruelty, who had come to haunt the nightmares of mortals. The solitude of Tristram's streets broke. Villagers whispered of disappearances. Guards vanished. The horrified townsfolk spoke of blood sounds in the cathedral, of shadows that moved on their own, and then the town nearly fell quiet. King Leoric himself died by his own knight's swords, but his death was not peaceful. He rose again as the Skeleton King, a twisted memory of his former self that lurked among the crypts. Amid all this crisis, a wanderer came, a hero destined to change the fate of Tristram. This was Prince Aidan, though his name would not remain long unshadowed. He descended into the cathedral's underworld, confronted Lazarus, discovered the corrupted soulstone, and fought his way through crypts, caves, and the very bowels of hell. He defeated the Butcher. He defeated his own father, now skeletal and broken. Finally, he confronted Diablo himself, but heroic victory carried a terrible burden. There was no simple closure. Diablo's essence twisted, the soulstone pressed into Aidan's forehead, and he became the Dark Wanderer, carrying the demon inside him. Tristram, once home, became a place of departure. Aidan walked away, leaving behind a town scarred, broken, haunted. After his departure, Tristram did not recover. The evil unleashed upon it spilled outwards. Demonic influence spread. In Diablo 2, adventurers arriving in the region find Tristram in ruin. Blackened stone, collapsed buildings, abandoned homes. The few survivors tell stories of screaming in the night, of demons crawling from the earth, of a town lost to despair. One of the few to remain is Deckard Cain, the wise scholar who later becomes heir to the Horadrim tradition and perhaps the most persistent voice of memory for the fallen town. As the years go by, Tristram becomes more than a ruined place. It becomes a legend, a cautionary tale. In Diablo 3, a new settlement springs up near the original site, New Tristram. The old cathedral still stands, though scarred and battered. Its ruins are studied by scholars, trodden by treasure hunters. New Tristram is populated by merchants, scavengers, and hopeful adventurers, drawn by the promise of relics, fragments of the past, pieces of history, and shards of evil waiting to be confronted. One fateful night, a star falls from the sky, an omen. The impact cracks open the old cathedral flooring, and a new wave of demonous events begins. Heroes Nephilim, those descended from angels and mortals, gather. They face horrors in the cathedral, in crypts, and in the shadowed corners of memory itself. Over time, they fight to contain the evil echoes that linger, always wary that Diablo himself may return. In the era of Diablo 4, Tristram's legacy endures. While New Tristram remains, the stories of Old Tristram are told in scholarly circles, in tavern whispers, and among wanderers. The ruins are not merely tourist spots. They are grave sites, reminders of how corruption once took root. For many, Tristram is a symbol, a testament to how absolute evil can rise from the quietest beginnings, and how heroism, though fleeting, can leave a lasting imprint. Yet for all its horror, Tristram is not just a place of darkness. It is also a place of memory. The fallen cathedral, the sealed crypts, the places where Horadrim rituals once echoed, all remain in the minds of those who travel sanctuary. Deckard Cain's voice calls through time, a scholar, a storyteller, a keeper of history. His duty was not only to fight evil, but also to remember. To teach others that Tristram was never merely a battleground, it was a crucible for the soul of sanctuary. Consider, for a moment, what Tristram represents in this wider world. In Sanctuary, where angels and demons walk in secret, where powerful orders like the Horadrim try to contain cataclysmic evil, Tristram is a microcosm. It is the intersection of power, faith, failure, and redemption. It shows us that even in the grandest cosmic struggle, personal tragedy matters. The corruption of a king, the possession of a boy, the suffering of a town, they are not trivial. They reshape history. From a psychological perspective, Tristram's story carries universal themes: the danger of hubris, the fragility of sanity, the way innocence can be corrupted, and the cost of power. Diablo's influence through Lazarus, through Aidan, through the Butcher, is not just supernatural evil, it is a metaphor for how deep wounds can infect a community and how redemption often demands sacrifice. Tristram's architecture, too, mirrors its story. The cathedral was built not just as a place of worship, but as a vault. Its vaulted ceilings, stained glass, and carved stone corridors were designed for both beauty and secrecy. Beneath it, the labyrinth was filled with traps and wards, as if the Horadrim anticipated that evil would one day return. The very walls were part of the Horadrim's magic, interwoven runes to shield, to contain, to guard. But magic is not infallible, and the Soul Stone, once stored there, would eventually betray that trust. Centuries later, in the aftermath, the ruins themselves became relics. New Tristram was built by people who saw opportunity in tragedy. They did not rebuild in ignorance, they rebuilt in remembrance. They built taverns, workshops, small homes fashioned from the charred stones of the original town. The cathedral, half collapsed, became a haunting landmark. Intrepid souls descend into its crypts, to study, to loot, to challenge the lingering horrors. But for the bravest, it is also a pilgrimage. To walk those halls is to walk through history, to feel the weight of sacrifice, of hope, and of terror all at once. In the soft glow of lanterns, people tell stories of Cain, whose voice echoes across centuries. They speak of the dark wanderer, of the butcher, of Lazarus. They speak of Albrecht, whose young life was corrupted in the depths. They speak of Aidan, who carried Diablo in his very flesh, hoping to contain the evil and maybe, in some small way, to master it. Through all these stories, Tristram becomes more than a place. It becomes an idea, a testament to vigilance, to courage, and to memory. As you listen softly, you might imagine yourself walking through the ruins. Maybe you stand in the cathedral's shattered nave, stones underfoot, wind echoing through broken windows. Maybe you climb downward into crypts, feeling cool stone against your palms, the hush of centuries around you. Perhaps you pause at a chamber where the Soul Stone once rested, or where Lazarus performed his secret rites. In your mind, the darkness is not frightening, it is spacious. It holds memory. It holds history. It is quiet, but never empty. And in that imagined pilgrimage, you come to understand something important: that evil can be buried, but not always wholly destroyed. That heroes can fall, but their courage still matters. That even ruins can teach. Let your breathing match your footsteps as you walk in that memory. In with calm, out with quiet. Step by step, corridor by corridor, you move through the past. Eventually, as you reach the outer courtyard of the ruined cathedral, the moonlight streams in through broken arches. Shadows lie soft on crumbled walls. The air smells of moss, of old wood, and of distant incense. There is something peaceful here, a hush, not of defeat, but of rest. There, as you stand beneath the fractured arches, you realize that Tristram's story is yours now, in some small way. You carry it gently, as one carries a storybook in the dark, turning its pages by lantern light. And as you hold that story, you feel a slow, deep calm settling into your bones. The weight of Tristram's tragedy is not yours to bear, but you are witness, and witness is powerful. In this quiet space, history becomes lullaby, memory becomes comfort. And though the shadows of Tristram are long, they are part of something larger, a world shaped by struggle, shaped by hope, shaped by those whose names might be forgotten, but whose stories remain. Now, as your breath drifts slower, as your mind softens, as you feel more and more rooted in that imagined cathedral courtyard, let the story rest for a moment. Let Tristram stand in stillness. Let the ruins lie in silence. You have traveled through centuries in your mind. You have borne witness to tragedy, to ambition, to courage, and now you can drift into sleep, carrying that calm memory with you. May your rest be gentle. May your dreams carry you lightly through corridors of stone and shadow, with the quiet memory of Tristram guiding you. Good night, traveler. Sanctuary awaits.